good morning all. Tuesday's here. So why have I been writing about the NHS? And why is it so important that we help ourselves? There are many reasons for helping ourselves, but the main one is it means we are aware, much more aware of what we are thinking and feeling. And it also means that we can therefore change how we react to situations. Now, I said in the written blog yesterday, that does not mean that when you need help, you shouldn't go to the NHS. But having worked in the NHS when the uniforms were like in the picture I put out yesterday and last week, that's how matron and sister was dressed. And there was no Christian names, it was all surnames. And in those days, matron and sister would never have been married. They wouldn't have been allowed to become a matron or a sister if they were married. So times have changed, as they quite rightly should. But sometimes we get fixed on somebody else looking for the answer to the problem, when really it means we need to look at ourselves, what the answer is. Now, I've shown you my fingers before and the arthritis. Now, I used to take very strong painkillers for the arthritis. Yes, I've still got some, but it's very rare I take them. And why? Because your body becomes immune to it. It also really impairs your immune system. So, by thinking about what I'm doing with my body, I could change how I did things. And the first thing I personally realised for many years, that I was always brought up as a very small child, that drinking a cup of tea, but all beverages, except for water, can dehydrate you because of the caffeine in tea and coffee. It can make you edgy. Tea is more calming than coffee, but water is the best thing we can drink because a high percentage of our body is water. It needs fluid to function well. A lot of people, older people that I talk to, have issues with cramp, and that is getting enough fluids during the day, and that doesn't mean tea or coffee, that means drinking natural water, which people drink bottled water. Yes, there is a time and a place for that, but we're now realising how many chemicals there are in plastic, besides the fact it doesn't disintegrate. So if we want to take care of ourselves and save the NHS, there are lots of little things we can do to help ourselves. One of the other things that I sometimes hear from people when they struggle with things like arthritis is it hurts to move. The less you move, the more that will hurt. I was born with no correct fitting knee joint on my right leg and no correct fitting hip joint on the right leg because of the polio. And in theory, the hospital would like to put new joints into my body, but I choose not to do that. How do I alleviate that pain? By exercise, by keeping it moving. There are many ways we can move. We can do exercise while sitting in a chair. This hand, when I was born, was like that. And now I can do exercises with it that I've never been able to do because I've taken time to think about it. It didn't change, and if I pick something up with that hand, it does look awkward. It looks like a child of 3 or 4 learning their coordination. But if I've managed to do that now, how many small things could you change for you, which just might mean that you don't need a visit to the NHS to get help? Because we all have to take responsibility for ourselves, no matter what goes on in our life. Who can change it? You can. I can't change it for you. I'm here to help you in any way I possibly can. But the only person who can take the first step is you. And it's about thinking about how you can do something. My hand I just showed you was tight shut. My fingers didn't open at all. So as a child I had physiotherapy. But I go out every day and pick up rubbish in my area. When that bag gets heavy, because I walk with a stick, I have to have it in the right hand, and then the fingers will suddenly say, I'm not holding that anymore. It's up to me to make them rethink what they can do. So I hope this helps you in thinking about how you may be able to help you, and why I wrote this about saving the NHS. I probably, without the NHS, would have ended up in the equivalent of what was the workhouse. Yes, the workhouse wouldn't be like it was years ago when it really was a workhouse. But when I was actually nursing, on one ward I worked on, there was a lady there, and she was probably one of the first thalidomide children. Sorry, that's a very difficult word to say. And when I left and got married, she was 52, but she'd been in that hospital bed from a small child. I was lucky enough to have physiotherapy. It is now difficult to find an NHS dentist, and it could be just as difficult if we don't think about taking responsibility for us, if we don't have the NHS. What it was like years ago, I was fortunate enough to nurse the matron who was in charge in one of my areas when the NHS went nationwide. Now, it started in the 40s. I think it was 48 in London between the First and Second World War. But it didn't actually go national till about 1952. Now I'm going to give away my age here because I was born in 54. So I was one of the lucky ones that those facilities were there for me. But because of the polio, I didn't learn to walk until I was 2.5, I think my mum said. Because I had to learn how to make my other leg do what I wanted it to do. So just maybe there are some things you can do for your health to help you. And if there is any way I can help you, that's what I'm here for. Could you take a look at what you're doing in your life? Because we always have choices of how we do something. Well, this is why I wrote about health and the NHS and what you can do for yourself. And one of the greatest things you can do is laugh. I've talked about this before. It's one of the greatest healers there is. And going out and doing something for somebody else. Well, this is my video for Tuesday. Take care. I'll speak soon.